Gwen Stacy, the Spider-Woman, stands in awe as she comes face to face with Peter Parker, a man she thought dead. Parker admits that she is not the only one drawn to this place. He comes here too, occasionally. Suddenly, a monstrous creature interrupts their discussion. Venom presents itself and attacks the Spider Heroes. Spider-Gwen jumps into action and takes Parker out of harm's way. She knocks down a tree which crashes upon the symbiote. This won't hold him for long, and thus Spider-Gwen and Peter swings off to higher ground. Moments later, Gwen and Parker takes a second to collect themselves. We discover that the symbiote was only following Gwen until it saw Peter. This Peter Parker had been gone for a long time. He now has a wife and a family to protect, and he also doesn't have his spider powers anymore. But suddenly their conversation gets interrupted again as the symbiote arrives and tackles his new target. Gwen backs up and prepares for another round with Venom. She hasn't been doing this for long, but Spider-Gwen had learned a few things. First, when fighting someone stronger than you, hit them with something other than your fist. Second, keep your distance. Third, make sure the civilians are clear. Venom is taken down again and the heroes makes their escape. But as per usual, Venom is back at it. Gwen brings Parker into an abandoned studio. Luckily for them, some equipment are left behind. Venom crashes through the window, but his arrival is anticipated. The volume is turned up to the max, and Spider-Gwen takes a stroke of her electric guitar. The overpowered sonic vibrations causes the symbiote to abandon his host, which gives Peter enough time to greet Eddie Brock, followed by a punch to the face. Venom was sent to keep an eye on Gwen, but if the symbiote doesn't check in with Osborn, then he will know that something's up. Gwen and Peter now have to think of a plan to counter Osborn's. Oscorp Industries. Anya, the Spider-Girl, sits bored out of her mind watching her friends discuss science and, stuff. Ham can see that she doesn't fit in and invites her to join him at the buffet upstairs. Moments later, at the buffet, Ham informs Anya how he likes it here. No one bothers him or even takes notice to him when all he does is sit around and eat all day. But when he wants to talk to Norman, he would find Mr. Osborn on his Caesar's chair. When asked about the chair, Ham says that Norman also wears a crown, and he said something about how he's going to storm the gates of heaven or, something. Anya is shocked and demands to see this Caesar's chair and crown for herself. Elsewhere, India's Spider-Man and Osborn are making great progress deciphering this quantum web. But the Spider Hero receives a picture message meant for Osborn. One look and Osborn loses his composure. Peter Parker has resurfaced. He needs to take care of this quick and quietly. Osborn now shows his Green Goblin face and bluntly demands for results when he returns. Norman marches out of the room, leaving the Spider Heroes dumbfounded. What happened to their generous host? Moments later, Anya peeks her head around the corner and tells her friends that she found something. Elsewhere, Osborn found his Sinister Six. He demands that they suit up and ready themselves for a mission. But this time, the boss is coming too. Osborn will now finally need his glider. Moments later, Ham brings the spiders to Norman's Caesar's chair. Spider UK identifies it as a Siege Perilous, a seat reserved for the man who finds the Holy Grail. According to Spider-Ham, Osborn would sit on this chair and rant about how he would crush God of Doom under his boots. Suddenly, electricity begins to pour out of the chair. The Spider Heroes are getting close, which is causing the seat to resonate. With hammer in hand, Thor enters the room and states, "That is a weapon of considerable power. In the name of the All-Father, I insist you step away. Immediately." What's going on, guys? Welcome to Comic Island. My name is Joey, and today we are reviewing and recapping the Spider-Verse issue 4, a Secret Wars tie-in. So this has not been the best read for me, but there are some redeeming qualities to this issue. Unfortunately, there might be a few more negative things that I would say about it though. Okay, so let's go over the bad things first, and then we can end it on a happy note. Okay, so the first bad thing. The cover art shows this guy. I'm gonna assume that this is the Jacko, the guy that cloned Spider-Man. This is very misleading since the Jacko doesn't make an appearance, nor does he get a mention in this issue. I really dislike it when the writers use the cover art that doesn't properly represent the issue. So the only thing that would make sense is that this creature is actually the Green Goblin. Norman does get quite a lot of face time in this issue, and we are starting to see that he is indeed the antagonist of this Secret Wars tie-in. The story does move forward a bit when we find out that he is like some of the other Barons. What I mean by this is the fact that he too wants to dethrone God Doom. Well, we already got quite a lot of this plot development. There's MODOK, Regent, Sinestro, the Maestro, and a few more Barons that I can think of who wants to take Doom's throne, so this development feels really bland. We have seen this before, and we want to see something new. So on to my next disappointment. We are now 4 issues in, and I'm feeling quite bored. The story is moving quite slow in my opinion. The biggest reason why I chose to cover this tie-in was because I thought I would see Molan or a few Inheritors again. Even though the Spider-Verse had a weak ending, the journey was very entertaining, and I thought I would get a bit of that in this Secret Wars tie-in. So no, I'm just hoping that this story would wrap up so we can move on to another issue series for me to cover. But that's all the negative things I gotta say. Unfortunately, these negative things are pretty big, but let's get into some positives. I love the fact that Peter Parker mentioned that he has a family. Parker seems to get a lot of mentions in the entire Secret Wars tie-in. You got the Peter Parker from Renew Your Vows, where he still has his powers and he is married to MJ. Arden is covering that, so I recommend you check out his reviews by clicking on the link on the screen. You also got the Civil Wars tie-in, where Peter Parker is separated from his wife and child due to Iron Man and Captain America having a huge disagreement. I think I should have covered this one instead. Well, I think that's all the points I can think of. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think about this issue? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time in another Secret Wars tie-in.